You realize that was a fury that had been packaged for quite a while. It's been more than a year at this point since the exceptionally dubious 2022 Oscars. Jim Carrey and different VIPs can't resist the memorable or how terrible the night unfurled. And I bet a large portion of you will concur that this scandalous Oscar slap is bound to be recollected each and every time somebody discusses the function. There is no essential for me that believes that was the correct method for acting at that time. As a matter of fact, Motor has offered extremely stunning expressions about Will Smith and how his demonstration towards Chris Rock are not meriting a wildly energetic applause. I was nauseated by the thunderous applause. I felt like Hollywood is simply cowardly anyway. Will at last ended his quiet and applaud-supported. And let me let you know he let it all out. So what did Jim Carrey say? And how will Smith respond? How about we figure out, we as a whole understand, what tumult unfolded during the 2022 Oscars? And as though seeing Will Smith approach Chris Rock, prior to hitting him huge on the face, Will in any case got a thunderous applause after he won an honor that very night. While Will truly shielded himself and released a statement of regret for his significant other and called his activities unsuitable, fans were still extremely squeezed about what occurred. As a matter of fact, it's not just the fans on the grounds that most celebs in the service were stunned at the previous occasions. Anyway, the majority of individuals present stood up and praised the entertainer, who was likewise allowed the opportunity to give an extremely lengthy acknowledgement discourse, as though he hadn't slapped somebody in front of an audience a couple of moments prior to this end. Jim was troubled about it, truth be told. He said he felt debilitated when he saw the crowd's responses. Perhaps this is the part that insulted Will the most, yet Jim Carrey didn't gloss over, and on second thought shared his valid and legitimate conclusions about the matter in a meeting with CBS Morning. Jim said, "I was nauseated by the heartfelt applause. I felt like Hollywood is gutless en masse. It truly felt like gracious. This is truly obvious sign that we're not the cool club any longer." Moreover, Jim even accepts that Will ought to have been accompanied away by the police the second he pivoted from Chris Rock, who was clearly staggered subsequent to getting slapped out of the blue. It would seem Chires was inquired as to whether he needed to squeeze charges, yet declined, and keeping in mind that fans were confounded concerning why Jim accepts that the comic didn't need the problem and needed to settle everything as calmly as he might Oscar maker. At some point, Will Parker additionally said exactly the same thing when asked everything that occurred after. As a matter of fact, the LAPD even said to Chris that what happened is a conspicuous instance of battery, and he has all the option to pursue Will for being excessively close to home and physical, with practically no incitement coming from the other party. On top of this, the officials supposedly said that they were prepared to capture Will, yet Chris rejected. They said, "We will go get him. We are set. We are ready to get him right now. You can squeeze charges. We can capture him." They were spreading out the choices, Packer told ABC. And as they were talking, Chris was exceptionally cavalier of those choices. He resembled, "No, I'm fine." He was like, no, except for Jim was not dazzled and stressed that Chris didn't believe that things should raise any further. Yet that doesn't mean the makers and individuals responsible for the Oscars that year ought to have allowed the whole thing to go unnoticed. Very much like that, in light of the fact that regardless of how Chris excused the matter, the reality remains Will attacked him before everybody, and he was not reproved for his activities. Rather, the honor-giving body gave him an honor anyway. Additional fascinating reports were shared about what genuinely occurred later, and for what reason Will was permitted to remain a dependable source. Uncovered that the specialists truly attempted to eliminate Will from the occasion, yet the humorist denied the source portrayed that after the dramatic quarrel, a Feline Foundation administration solidly requested that Will's marketing expert leave the service and escort the entertainer away. Yet Will denied, and that was conveyed back to Foundation administration. Returning this was not the last point Jim made about the occurrence, since he continued and referenced how Mike could act better, he might in fact yell from the crowd, assuming that he contradicts Chris, or is unglued about the joke, yet strolling up the stage. And slapping someone else is good and gone when the host attempted to defend what Will did Jim quickly differ, and referenced how things didn't raise he then. At that point, said it appeared suddenly on the grounds. Dowell has something happening inside him that is baffling, he then identified with Will, and referenced how he wished only awesome for the comic. However, at that point again, it didn't give him a free pass to destroy the evening in eclipse. Every other person second during the service on the grounds that after this scandalous Oscar slap everybody was discussing that wreck in the end. The Oscars were about Will slapping Chris, and not about the gifted individuals who endeavored to create an astonishing films and shows during that prior year. You say that Jim is the one in particular who thinks this way. It's truly the inverse on the grounds that a ton of craftsmen had similar opinions about what happened. Jane Seymour truly hammered the entertainer for acting brutally, and referenced how she accepted there was not a great explanation for things to turn out that way everybody is discussing among Chris. And will your contemplations, I don't support savagery. I see no real excuse for it. Lupita Nyong'o's response, like numerous others, was a blend of shock and bewilderment. She was on camera when the entertainer got back to his seat and scolded Rock to keep my better half's name out of your mouth. The amazed look on Nicole Kidman and Serena Williams' countenances was additionally caught on video. A few entertainers likewise stepped up and moved toward Will. For example, Tyler Perry, Denzel Washington, and Bradley Cooper were undeniably spotted chatting with Smith. In one picture, Cooper is seen purportedly comforting Smith, who looks distressed. After everything at the Vanity Fair get-together, entertainer Lakeith Stanfield, who went to the honors function, was likewise examined regarding the episode. I don't realize it was insane he shared with assortment. It was an unusual second, and it was dreamlike. While certain entertainers were making an honest effort to continue to remark about Will's conduct, others were not relaxed about how disheartened they were. One of them was Amy Schumer, who was one of the three has that evening. She attempted to get everybody's temperament up only a couple of moments after the slap by telling a wisecracker, "I've been slipping out of that Bugman ensemble. Did I miss anything?" Applause. There resembles an alternate energy in here anyway. After the function, she shared her actual sentiments in a post on her virtual entertainment. Schumer pondered the episode, composing that she was as yet set off and damaged. She continues by saying, "I love my companion Chris Rock, and except he took care of it like a star, kept awake there, and gave an Oscar to his companion. And the entire situation was so upsetting, such a lot of agony in Will Smith. At any rate, I'm still in shock and paralyzed and miserable." Wanda Sykes, who was likewise facilitating the service that evening, couldn't resist the opportunity to share how disappointed she was with Will during her visitor appearance on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She uncovered that she didn't see the real slap, yet heard Will yelling from his seat, which befuddled her at first. "I just resembled. Is this truly happening?" She then felt free to talk about her thoughts about the occurrence, and referenced that she felt frustrated about Chris, and that she felt wiped out in the wake of perceiving how Mike would hurt somebody without thoroughly considering his activity. "I only felt so dreadful for my companion, Chris, and it was nauseating." Individuals who watched the show on the web or from their homes were staggered too, and thus the response overwhelmed. And while there were fans who said they comprehended where Will was coming from, a great many people were absolutely against his rough response. One fan tweeted, "No, it's been months, or very nearly a year. Yet the Will Smith and Chris Rock slap's still insane as damnation to me." While different entertainers like Jodie Turner-Smith tweeted, "And to the extent that bullet that episode, Mark goes, I'm actually handling. I have handed down shame for all required from that point forward. Such countless things have happened. We'll put out a conciliatory sentiment to Chris Rock, which may be excessively late, as a great many people said in the extended conciliatory sentiment. he shared via online entertainment. The comic said I was off the mark, and I was off base. I am humiliated, and my activities were not characteristic of the man I need to be. There is a bad situation for viciousness in a universe of adoration and consideration. He likewise affirmed that he contacted Chris and requested to be pardoned for his unforgiving activities toward him. It's all fluffy. I've connected with Chris. And the message that returned is that he's not prepared to talk in his conciliatory sentiment. Will repeated that Chris joke, which made reference to Pinkett Smith's alopecia, and the balding she encounters set off his feelings. Yet he clarified that he followed up on his own understanding. And his significant other didn't drive him or advise him to stroll up the stage and slap Chris in the end. Will likewise declare that he would leave the foundation and acknowledge anything punishment the foundation considered fit. Discussing the foundation, the leading group of lead representatives chose to restriction Will from the Oscars. For a time of 10 years, they likewise apologized for not taking care of the circumstance better in the proclamation. They shared the foundation, said during our broadcast, we didn't sufficiently address what is going on in this space. For this we are sorry. This was a chance for us to set a model for our visitors, watchers, and our Institute family all over the planet. And we missed the mark, not ready for the extraordinary. Then again, Chris has been hush about the episode, yet he makes a move to make a joke out of it in a Netflix unique. The comic made a point to specify the notorious slap, and when inquired as to whether it hurt, he kidded and said, individuals, I didn't hurt, it actually harms. I got mid-year ringing in my ear, alluding to Smith's 1991 single. He additionally added, I took